Hello YouTube! Today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful seed bead necklace. Hope you enjoy this tutorial. Hello YouTube, it's the Crafty Missy here. Today I have a tutorial for you. This time a jewelry making tutorial. I haven't done one of those in quite a while, but now I have this project that I want to make for myself, and I thought that I'm gonna make a tutorial out of this because I really love this. This is a seed bead necklace or a seed bead bracelet because, you know, the process would be the same. They would just be different lengths. So this is the necklace that you can see here. This type of necklace. And this one has kind of rich, deep colors. I remember I wanted to be kind of inspired by India and all kinds of exotic colors when I made this one. I also have another one. This one is kind of more like spring colors, I thought. The colors in this one, you can see there's some turquoise and gold and cream colored, pale pink and stuff like that. So yeah, and the other one has just like berry reds and really kind of deep browns and deep golds and all kinds of stuff like that. So this is what I'll be showing you how to make in this video, one of these necklaces or bracelets. And this is a really versatile design because you can wear this in pretty much two different ways. Let me show you with the one that has the darker colors. So you can wear it so that the strings, because this is comprised out of strings as you can see, just strings of seed beads. You can wear this so that it's completely loose. Let me open up that for you. I'll show you soon how you can tighten up it again. So you can wear it like this. See, all these strands are like here, wild and hippie-like and, you know, cool and relaxed. You can wear it like this. But the way that you saw me have it just now was kind of coiled up. And the way you do that, you take the ends here and you start rotating this one. As you can see here, I'm rotating it like upwards. And then I take the other one and I start rotating that downwards. And now I'm going to have to take my, my hands off the camera, but you probably got that. So rotate them to the different directions. So you're going to be tightening that. You're going to be tightening all those strings. And then when you bring it together and you close it, I have a hook and eye clasp here. Oops, sorry. So, you know, it's tightened up and it's like this coiled design. So you can wear it either way you want to. And that's why this is one of my favorite types of necklaces to make. But enough of the design. I'm sure you get it already if you like this or not, if you want to make this or not. But I'll show you first what you need for this project. And before I do that, I want to tell you that I think this is a good enough project even for beginners if you just, you know, spend time and kind of, you know, follow the instructions and just, you know, if something doesn't go right, then just redo it and so forth. So I really think this can be done by pretty much anyone. But let's get on to what you will need. So obviously for this project you will need seed beads. And what seed beads are tiny glass beads that you can get in any beading store. They are very popular in all kinds of different projects. You can, you know, you can make embroidery with these, and you can make jewelry with them, and you can make all kinds of things with these. So just go to any beading store online or offline and you will find seed beads. They come in a lot of different like finishes and looks, so you'll probably find a variety of them. And I'll show you a couple here because these are the seed beads that I've chosen for my project here. I don't know if I mentioned it, I probably have, but I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, been for years and years. And I want to make a necklace that has Harry Potter colors. I really want to make a necklace with colors that I kind of think are Harry Potterish. Kind of exotic maybe even too. But let me show you the colors that I've chosen. I'm going to start off with this very, very bright, fiery orange. These are very small seed beads. I don't remember the size right now. But seed beads come in different sizes. But in this project, you can use any sizes, you can mix sizes, you can use different finishes and all that. So these are very small ones, and they have silver foil inside, which is why they sparkle like this. You can see the golden sparkles there. That's the silver foil inside. So I want to use these. Then I want to use these. These are very basic matte colored purple seed beads. As you can see, they have no shine, no glitter, nothing like that. They are just matte and they are purple, but I like them a lot. So I'm going to use these as well. Then I have another purple color here. This one, as you can see, it looks almost like silvery. It has this like a silver sheen. I don't remember what you call this finish on the beads, but they are not translucent. They just have this silvery finish in them. And then I have these golden colored ones. So these are actually brownish, I think, more. These also have the silver foil inside. If you look at them, they really, really shine and sparkle. That's the silver foil inside. And I have these green ones, which are the same. They also have the silver foil inside. Then I have these ones. These are very dark blue, and they are transparent, but they have no other finish in them. They look almost black here now because they are so dense in this little baggie, but I think you can see there that they are like this awesome, awesome shade of beautiful blue. Beautiful, kind of like night blue, inky blue. So I really like these. And these are translucent, or actually not translucent, transparent. Maybe they mean the same. Transparent brown ones. Just basic transparent brown ones. And then I have a couple of these little boxes. They can come in boxes, they can come in bags, even in tubes. These are berry red ones, and these also have the silvery finish to them. I don't have a lot of them, as you can see here, so I probably can't do more than maybe 1 or 2 strands with these, but I'll use this. Then I have a very bright golden color that also has the silver foil inside. And then I have black ones. I'm not sure I'm going to use these actually, but these are black ones with silver foil inside. So yeah. So those are the seed beads that I'm going to use. Let me shuffle those to the back so that I can get all the rest of the stuff here. Okay, so you need those seed beads, and obviously the amount of colors that you want to use, it's completely up to you. And you can use just one color too. You can use 2 colors, 3 colors, whatever amount you want to. But how much seed beads you're gonna need, now that depends on the size of the necklace that you wanna make, because one thing that you will need here are cones. Here you can see cones. They are cone-shaped little jewelry findings. I've got a couple here. Oops, sorry, no, I dropped that. Let's take this one. So as you can see here, it's just a little cone, and it has a hole here in the other end through which you will then put the clasp. And it's this here, this opening right here, that determines how many strands of seed beads you can put in. Let me bring this necklace back to you here. You can see that I've used the same cones here. And as you can see, I probably could have squeezed in a couple more strands here. Otherwise, it's pretty full. But as you can see here, this is a pretty thick, collection of strands. So this, how many strands you want to have and what size seed beads, that determines, or that is determined by the size of your cone. There are cones that have a very much smaller opening, so keep an eye on that when you choose your cones. If you want to have a chunky bracelet or necklace, then choose a cone that has a large opening, because that way you can fit a lot of strands in there. So that's why I can't give you an exact number of beads that you need because the cones are different. This one has a pretty big opening, but you know what? Just try it out. You can always, if you have extra strands of beads, you can always, you know, unravel those and use the seed beads for another project or something like that. So yeah, so you will need, oh, I'm losing everything today. You will need 2 of these cones because you will obviously need 1 for each end. And the other runaway cone is here, joined with his or her friend. Then you will obviously need a clasp. And I'm going to be using for this project this hook and eye clasp. It's just got this little eye here, and this is supposed to be the hook, and it just goes in through there like that, and then it sits there nicely. So you can use any kind of clasp you want with this. You can even use a claw clasp, that's the basic type of clasp, but I'm going to use this hook and eye clasp, and let me show you here. Again, this one is a different clasp that I have here, but it is the same principle. You just put it in through the hole there and you open it. And as you can see, this one functions very well. It's it can move easily. It's got enough movement, and that's because I have these tiny little rings here, which is what you will also need. Here's the other ring. Because having a jump ring here will give your clasp movement, and it will not be stiff, and you can easily close it and open it. That's why you need this little jump ring here. So the next thing you will need are jump rings. Now I'm going to be using split rings. Split rings, if you look very carefully, I'm trying to find something to point with. Let me take my one of my pliers. If you look carefully here, you can see that these are actually double jump rings. They have kind of 2 coils in them. That is what we call split rings. You have to open them, and I'm sure that you have seen these kind of rings in like keychains and all kinds of things, lanyards and what have you. The only reason I'm going to be using split rings here instead of basic jump rings is because split rings are more sturdy, and jump rings can always open if there's a lot of strain on the necklace, and this is a pretty heavy necklace because it has all these seed beads in it. That is why I want to use split rings, but don't worry if you don't have these. You can use completely regular jump rings. Just make sure that you close them well. If you use normal jump rings, make sure that you use pretty thick wire, metal wire, so that it's not too thin, because if it's too thin it can warp and open up. But if you have split rings, I suggest you use them because they are really good for this project. And let me show you here, I have actually used split rings here too, and this has lasted me for quite a while. This is at least 2-3 years old, this one. So yeah, you will need those. Then you obviously will need a, like, you know, because you're going to be making lots of different strands, you will obviously be needing some thread. And I've got here, this is beading thread, and I have this brownish color. Use beading thread, and you can get beading thread in pretty much any beading store. I think you might even get it in some other stores, but beading thread is just like regular thread, but it is how would I say this, it doesn't get worn so easily by the beads, because if you have lots of different like glass beads like this, they kind of put a strain on this thread, and if the thread is not specifically meant for beading, it can kind of, you know, it can snap. So that's why it's good to use beading thread, and this is beading thread, and I'm going to be using this. It doesn't matter what color you're going to use because you can't see the thread. You can use any color. And to condition your thread, you would need either a, you know, beeswax. I've got this beeswax block here. I don't like this a lot because this is so dry. I prefer to use Thread Heaven, which is a thread conditioner and protectant. What this does is it's simply like, imagine this to be the oil to the thread, just like you put oil in a car so that it functions well. This is the oil to the thread. It's just this white mass. It's like it's got beeswax in it and maybe something else. You just you take the thread and you just kind of pull it through this so that it's coated in this thing. That makes it easier to handle, and it protects your thread. So something to protect your thread, either Thread Heaven or some other thread protector. And then you might want to use a thread stopper. I'm going to use this. It's easier when you have lots of little strands full of seed beads, and you need to place them somewhere, obviously, while you're doing other strands. So I like this one. I have a couple of these. You can use anything. You can tape them on your desk if you don't have this. But this is easy because you can open it and then you can just put the thread, like let me show you here with this. Put the end of the thread right into one of those and then you can close it and it's there. So this is really good for if you're doing a lot of seed bead work. This probably would be a good thing to get. But as I said, if you don't have that, you can just take tape and you can tape the ends of your threads on your desk. Let's put that away. And then you will obviously also need, if you look here, let me show you again. And we need to sharpen it a bit. If you look here, you can see that what I have coming from here, this is just metal wire, not beading wire, but just this is copper wire, and you can find this kind of, you can even get it in silver if you want to, but just basic copper wire or sterling silver wire, whatever you have. This comes in a lot of gauges. It can be really thick, it can be really thin. I think this one is 0.4 or 0.6. I'm not exactly sure now because I don't have the label anymore. But you can even use sturdier one if you want to. It just has to be able to go through the hole in your cone. So it has to be measured that way. So if you get really, really thick wire and it doesn't go through there, then you have to get thinner one. But it has to be able to go through here and go through there well. So just basic copper wire is fine. This is very cheap and you can get it in lots of gauges and just, you know, any beading store pretty much. This is copper wire that is plated with silver, not real silver obviously, but I use this and this is just fine. So you will need a bit of that, and then you will need obviously cutting pliers to cut that. Here I have very cheap cutting pliers from the, I think this was just a basic convenience store that I got this from. And then you will need to form the loops, you will need a round nose plier that has round noses that are smooth. Remember, they have to be smooth. They cannot be in any way ribbed. So just this kind of pliers because you need to make loops. So you will need those. And I like to use a needle when I thread this because when you have thread and you're going to put beads into that thread, so it might be a little hard because the thread is flimsy like this to actually get them there without a needle. So that's why you need a beading needle. I've got here some extra fine beading needles, and beading needles are very thin. You cannot use a normal sewing needle for this because the beads have such small holes that it needs to be a beading needle. And I have different sizes here. As you can see, they are very, very thin. Some have even warped a little, but that doesn't matter at all if they have warped. You can still use them perfectly. And they have very small holes there. They do have holes right there, but they're very small. So these will go through the beads, and that's why the beading needle is something you will need to thread your beads here. So not a regular sewing needle will not do. Okay, so this is all that you need for this project, but please, if you're making this, watch this video first in its entirety before you start making it, because if I am a dunderhead and I have forgotten something, I will mention it later in the video. But this is what you will need, and now let's get on to making the necklace. So let's start actually making the necklace now. The first thing you need to determine is the length of your necklace. The easiest way to do that is to find a necklace that you really like, that you already have, and measure that. For this project, I'm measuring this necklace that you've already seen. And when you do the measuring, do not measure the clasp part. Start measuring where the main necklace, the main beadwork starts. So I started measuring about here, and I went all around it and ended up somewhere around here. And that was about 20 inches for me. I don't like too long necklaces, so this is not very long. But this was 20 inches. And to that, you need to add about 5 inches to both ends. So about 10 inches all in all. And this is simply because we'll be tying the threads on a knot on both ends, and it's much easier to do that if you have a little bit more thread to work with. So about 5 inches to either end. And for me, that made a total length of a little over 30 inches. So next you need to do is just take your beading thread and start cutting pieces that are the length that you just determined. For me, it's a little over 30 inches, and here's one piece of thread that I've already cut. Now, once you've cut your thread, you need to do a little bit of stretching. Now, for beading thread, you always need to stretch it a little because it is stretchy, and if you don't stretch it before you start working, it might stretch in wear, and that means that you will get these nasty looking pieces of jewelry, for example, that have horrible holes with no beads in them. So just take your thread from approximately the end, take a good grip. And for demonstration purposes, I'm imagining that this is the other end of my thread now. And just pull, very gently pull. And do that, make sure that you really stretch the whole piece. This is because I just explained why it is, because, otherwise it will stretch in wear. And after you have done that, you need to take either your beeswax or Thread Heaven or some other thread conditioner. And I'm going to show you here with this beeswax block. Just place the other end of your thread there, press with your finger, this way, and then just pull it. And this kind of coats the thread with beeswax, and you can do this several times. But the reason why I don't like this beeswax block, because it's too hard. It's hard to get anything to stick to this thread, so that's why I always use Thread Heaven. And I just do the same thing here. I'm not going to do it here on camera, no. But anyway, some kind of thread conditioner, and this makes it a lot easier to handle the thread, and it kind of also protects your thread. So after you've done that, you need to put some beads onto this thread. So take something like felt. Felt is a very good kind of fabric to use here. I have this little felt piece here. And why to use felt with seed beads? Now the reason is that when you need to pour this little pile of beads on there so that you can thread them, obviously if you put this on wood, like a wooden desk, it will be very slippery, and this will not stay like this. They will start flying everywhere. So that's why I suggest that you take a piece of fabric, or felt is the best in my opinion, and just use that. But before you will put your beads onto your thread, you need to do one more thing. You need to add something, a bead stopper, to the other end of your thread, so that when you put the beads on, they will not start falling from the other end. And as I said earlier, you can use a bead stopper. You can find these at pretty much any beading store. These come in different designs. I have this one. Or then you can use just masking tape. You know, you can either tape your piece on your desk, or you can just like take a piece of this tape and put it here in the other end, just like, you know, tape it around the thread. I have done that at approximately the 5-inch mark, so that I remember that this 5 inches here is extra. So that's what I've done, and that's what you could do as well. And then just take a beading needle. Remember that they have to be beading needles because regular needles are too thick to go through seed beads. Put it in your thread. Let me just find mine here. And here I've got mine. And then you will just take your needle and take your little pile of beads, and then just start poking into there with your beading needle. And as you can see, it kind of picks up the beads pretty easily. And then you just slide them down onto your thread, and you keep doing that as long as you have only about 5 inches left, which is what I have here. And there I go. There I have one of my strands ready. And you will need to do this for as many strands as you need. I have cut 14 strands for this project, but obviously if you do not know how many strands your cone will fit, and as you remember we talked about the cone, this is what determines how many strands you can fit into your necklace. You can always eyeball it, you know, you can kind of check out your beaded strand and think, how many of these can I fit in here? You can imagine it, or then you can just kind of make whatever you think might fit in there, and then if you have any extra, then who cares, you can always reuse those, or if you have made too few, then you can always make more. So it's trial and error with these cones, and no one can give you an exact amount of strands that you can fit in here, because obviously seed beads come in different sizes too, and it also depends on the size of the seed beads that you're using. But I will be filling about 14 strands with the colors that I already showed you earlier in this video, and then I will come back. So see you then. So now I have finished putting on all my beads onto my threads, and I decided to go with 13 threads, so I don't have 14, I have 13. And what I have done is I have kind of separated them like this and placed them onto this like a half round shape here. And to continue, you need either tape or this thing that I've already shown you. This is the bead stopper. You need either one of those. I'm gonna pick this end of my threads, just making sure that I have every single thread here, and I'm gonna put them onto my bead stopper. Now you obviously can do this just with tape if you want to, but I'll do it with the bead stopper. So now I know that none of the beads will come off from this end, and I can work with this end. So what I'm actually doing here is I'm trying to make these here. I'm kind of bringing them together, and I'm making sure that they are approximately even. What I mean with that is that all the beads will kind of have a sort of an even line here, so that that there are no strands with beads start from here or anything like that. So just to make sure that they are approximately even, because they will be uneven, you know, because you have different size beads, and you haven't counted the beads, which means that there will be more beads in some strands and less beads in some strands and whatnot. Just pretty much make sure that they are about even. It really is not that wholly completely important. Just make sure that they are approximately even. When that happens, make a loop here, or make a knot, sorry. You can see the way I'm doing it here. I hope that it really shows here. This can be a little tricky sometimes. Let me try to bring all of these through. There we go. And then I'm pushing the knot as close as I can to my beads. So I have a knot here. Doesn't really matter. There's a little bit of extra there, but that doesn't matter at all. It's good for the beads to have a little breathing space there. And I'm going to make another knot here at the very same spot, just to make it a little bit more secure. Let's see if I can do this without making a mess. Yep. And I will attempt to push this, if I can, to approximately the same spot. Well, it went a little above it, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to make a third knot here. The reason why you want to make more than one knot, you can see that very soon. It's not only for the security, it's for another reason too. So let's see. Okay, I'm getting like 3 knots here. I'm going to try one more if I could finally kind of get that on top of the other knots, because what I'm looking for here is kind of to make the knot a little bit thicker. Let me see if I can work this knot. Yep, that's it. So I kind of managed to put it on top of the other, so now I have like this one big knot here. There we go. So one of the ends is now completed for this this one, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same for this other end. Obviously, I'm going to take this off, and if you have tape here, you just take that off. And when you do this, you need to be very careful so that your strands lay beautifully here. You don't want them to go all haywire. So while you do this, just kind of make sure that this other end here, that the other end is nice and loose. And when you make the second knot, make sure that your strands are not too tight, because obviously if you make the knots so close to the beads that they are so tight that you can actually work with this, they need to be loose and easily workable. So the very same thing here. Just if I see any strands that kind of tend to be lower than the others, and I just kind of pull those up, because this is a kind of hippie type of thing, so it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be let me see, the turquoise one seems to be a little longer than the others, so I need to pull that up a little bit here. Yeah, it seems to be pretty low. So let's bring that up a little bit. Do another. They look pretty nice. Otherwise, just really make sure that they are all... Oh, the green one seems to be a little low there. Let's pick that up. As does this one. Sorry, I have a pretty limited space here to work with, which is why sometimes my hands might go, that you can't see them, but I'm trying to keep them down here. Okay, I think that looks pretty okay. And now I'm just going to repeat the other, I'm going to make the knots on this end, but since you already saw me making the knots for the other end, I'm not going to film that, but I'm going to be back for the next stage of making our necklace. Okay, so let's continue. I have now put knots on both ends, and I have trimmed the excess, so there you can see. Just snip them with scissors, because you don't want all that excess thread there. But the next step involves in putting the cone onto these things, and for that you need the wire Like I said at the beginning, it can be silver wire, it can be copper wire. What I have here is just silver plated copper wire. I believe the size is 0.6 or 0.4. I can't remember, sorry about that. But you know, any size is okay as long as it can fit through the hole right there in your cone. And obviously you need your cones, 2 of these. So let's start. And by the way, the length of this is, I think, about 8 inches, but it doesn't really matter. If you're a beginner, cut much more so that you're you know, comfortable using it. Because this is pretty inexpensive if you use copper wire like I do. It's okay, it doesn't cost a lot. So then what you will do, you have 2 choices. You can either insert this through the knot, or you can insert it right there underneath the knot. I like to insert it at about half so that I have the same amount of strands on both sides, approximately. It's really not that important as long as you get it in there. There we go. So then I will bring it up like this. Just press it together so that it gets really nice and tight in there. And then I'm gonna take one of these, doesn't matter which one, and just for this one I'm going to need these are my chain nose pliers. They taper towards the ends and they are completely smooth inside. So you can do this by hand, by the way, but I just prefer to do this with the help of my pliers. So I kind of turn that sideways like that, and I think I'm gonna do just a little bit more. There we go. And I oops, looks like our knot went haywire, but it doesn't really matter. It can go any way it wants to. But I'm just holding on to this, making sure that everything in place. And oops, it's very hard for me to do it so low, but I really hope you can see that. So what I'm doing here is I'm just maneuvering. I think I need to do this by hand now. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to wrap this around the knot, and as you can see, it's getting it's kind of hard here. I don't have a very good a lot of space to work with, which kind of makes it harder, but I think you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just wrapping it around the knot. Maybe I can now get a hold of it. Let me try. Just, it doesn't matter if it doesn't look very good, because you know what, no one can see that. So really doesn't matter if it doesn't look very good. It can look as messy as you like. So doesn't look very nice here, but well, it doesn't look too bad. But there we go. And I want to use my pliers, oops, to kind of press that in nicely so that it's not sticking out of there. And just making sure everything is snug in there. Not perfect, but you know what? Really doesn't matter, because oh, look at the end. It's a little bit crooked, so I'm just gonna snip a little bit out of it, and then I'm just gonna put this end through, oh, wrong hole, and the hole in this one, and pull this on over it. And as you can see, well, I could have fit in many more of these strands, but hey, you know, it doesn't really matter. So then you'll just make a loop right here, and for the making the loop you need a round nose plier. Here is mine. And I'm just gonna make it approximately there, maybe a little bigger. Just like that. Picking up my chain nose plier again. I'm doing pretty much the same thing, wrapping the stem around, wrapping this around the stem, I mean. So this is how you make a closed loop. And I'm also making sure that the cone stays firmly in place by kind of wrapping this pretty close to the cone, so it also holds the cone in a way. But I think that's fine now, so I need to snip the extra there. There we go, and then obviously smooth it out with my Chinos pliers. Just making sure that it's not sticking out from there. There we go. So now we've got this here, and I will repeat this on the other end, and then I'll come back to show you how to attach the clasp. So now I have finished putting both of my cones into my necklace, and the last stage is to put your hook and eye clasp or whatever clasp you have onto your necklace. And as I said, if you have jump rings, you will simply attach a jump ring right here and then attach this part into the jump ring. But as I said, I have split rings which look like this, if I can get this to, there we go. They kind of have like 2 layers on them. And I use these in this kind of necklaces because they are much sturdier. And what I've done is I've already done the first one. And those of you who might not know how to attach a split ring, it does require some kind of handiwork. But what I always do is I have this small Victorinox Swiss Army knife. By the way, I love these knives. I have a bigger one as well. And I use the blade from that. And I just kind of, I really hope that you can see this now, because this is going to be very, very, very difficult. Let me zoom in a bit so that we are very, very sharp here. So I just kind of insert the blade in between these rings. Sometimes it helps if you kind of put it against something, like against there we go. So now my blade is in between there. Oop, came right off, but I got it in there again. So then you just need to, when you have it open like this, you've got your blade or whatever you're using in there, and then you simply have to slide on your whatever you're attaching to it. And like I said, this is not easy. So if you're a beginner, please use jump rings for this. There we go. Got it in there. And I'm going to take my pliers to help maneuver it in. There we go. Now it's in there. And obviously, the thicker your thingy is, you know, whatever you're attaching there, the harder it is to get in there. So this was pretty thin, but now I have this one, which is much thicker. So let's see how I managed to get it in there. And since considering that this is attached here too, let me try to get it in there. You might be wondering if I'm not getting any cuts from the knife, but I never have, and I always do my split rings this way. There are definitely tools that you can use for split rings. I don't have any of those, so I have to do it the hard way. Usually I get them on faster because I have a kind of a, you know, since I'm filming here, it's not a very good spot. Where did my split? Oh, there it is. Look, almost lost it. Forgot that it was already on. So it can take a little bit of maneuvering. Let's see. If I don't get it on soon, I'm going to do it off camera so that I can really get a good grasp at this. and then I'll return. Because see, my camera is like in front of my chest, so it's kind of hard to get a good grasp here with my hands. I should have my hands like closer to me, you know. Did I get it on now? Let's see. Yep, I sure did. There we go. Let's take those off. And we are now finished with our lovely necklace. And as I said, you can definitely use this rolled open like this, so that all of them are just like flopping around, you know, like this. Or then you can take the ends and you can make it like, you know, a coil, so to speak. Let me try to coil it here in the end quickly. So either one is fine. And the colors I used in this did not end up to being a Harry Potter one. After all, I changed the colors at some point because just wanted to, and you know, that's art, because making jewelry is making art. So you just you kind of change things as they go along. So here is my my necklace, and I really like the colors. I think it's a very lovely colors in this. Really love this one, and will definitely use this one. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that if you try this on, leave me a comment, let me know how it went. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.